Welcome to Salamone, the podcast. With me, Michael Salamone. This week, I've put 20 topics into a hat. I'm going to pull out 10 of them and I'm going to have a rant. It'll be a potpourri of current events. Talked about in a Michael Salamone kind of bench. I'm Michael Salamone. This is my show. Yep. Welcome to Salamone. I'm Michael Salamone, and now Sal's show. We've done this before. And I'm going to take another turn with it. This is an episode where I've thrown a bunch of topics into a hat, and I'll rant a little bit on each topic as I draw them out, and then, we'll draw another. Wash, rinse, and repeat. My name is on the show. These are my opinions and nobody else, but there are 20 topics in this hat. I think I'm going to pull 10 of them, and, we'll just see what happens. Let's go and get to it. First one up is real grandparent. All right. If you don't know what this is, Hillary Clinton was on Joe Scarborough last week and said, I think I've got this quote pretty right, "My opponent likes to talk about his extraordinary grandchildren, and as a real grandparent," and then she went on with something. Listen, basically she was saying Bernie Sanders isn't a real grandparent because his grandchildren are adopted, or his grandchildren through marriage. This is low. It's super scummy political bullshit. Only Clinton is capable of this kind of crap. Let me say it loud and clear. DNA doesn't matter. With parenting or all things family, it's not about DNA. It's about who shows up to do the job. You would think the architect of It Takes a Village would get that. But, of course, you can't expect Hillary Clinton to hold her position on an issue for more time than it takes a check to be written. I'm right on this issue. It's not about DNA. It's about who shows up to do the job. Parents, grandparents, and families come in all varieties these days. The only thing that makes a family is love. I may not trust a Clinton, but I pray she's apologized or lied and said that she misspoke by the time this episode with me challenging it hits iTunes. It's just too shameful, even for a Clinton. Let's pick another. Iranian prisoner exchange. All right, maybe I'm just a little salty, and especially after that last topic, but let's just lay it all out here. Had we not funded Saddam Hussein's war against Iran and the gassing of the citizens there, this shit show would be an entirely different scene. Anytime we glimpse into the lives of the Iranian people, check out Anthony Bourdain's latest episode just this past week, for an example. We see that the Iranian people are so very American. I mean, they love big meals, classic cars, good conversation. They're sarcastic and stylish, but in a bawdy way. That's Americans. We have so much in common with the Iranian people, probably more so than any other people of that region. Yet, we're just indoctrinated into this axis of evil bullshit that we don't consider what the people are like. I mean, sure, they've got religious fanatics in control, but you know what? So do we. We've so much in common. I'm so hopeful for this Iran deal, for the prisoner exchange, and I really would just love to glimpse into the parallel universe where Jimmy Carter got another term and Lloyd Bentsen succeeded him, and we didn't have Reagan and Bush and then Clinton making all these poor decisions about regime change in the region. Let's pick another. We need welders. Oh, we need welders. I'm so sick of this argument about the argument against making public universities free. Should every kid go to college? No, of course not. Should the financial situation you were born into dictate that? Hell no. Your intelligence should. Your desire to should. We don't have surfism in America. I mean, well, we do, but we're not supposed to. We need welders, but we need opportunity to nurture America's best and brightest down whatever path is right for them, not whatever path their parents could afford. This argument is just a way of reinforcing classism, of saying that, well, we need welders, meaning like, oh, well, you weren't born into a family who can shell out $60,000 to $80,000 a year for your education, so you're going to be a welder, buddy. No, that's not American dream. We've sold out so much, and we're talking about privatizing Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, and all the safety net stuff, all the stuff that created a middle class, that gave Americans an opportunity to go beyond the generation before them. We're so willing to sell that all out, to let capitalism dictate a new form of classism. That's not America. America isn't purely capitalistic driven, working class that never gets ahead. America is dreams and the ability for all of us to participate in capitalism. And we need a little bit of socialism, a little bit of safety net to make that possible. And this we need welders argument, it's just the tip of the iceberg of all of that. All right, sip of coffee and draw another one. Oh boy, Bernie's medical records. If there's any sign that the Clinton campaign, the Hillary Clinton campaign, is in desperation mode, just kind of like 8 years ago when she started calling Obama a Muslim, it's this newest crazy attack on Bernie. Poor Bernie. Such a classy guy, doesn't want to fight dirty, doesn't want to play politics as usual, and he has to run against a Clinton. Anyhow, she demanded that within 16 days, like she puts a timeline on it, he turn over his medical records, proving that he's fit to hold the presidency. All right, Bernie Sanders is just 5 years older than Hillary. To put that more into perspective, if he were a senior in high school and she were 5 years behind him, people probably wouldn't have batted their eyelashes if they dated, especially in the era they grew up in. They're pretty close in age. Bernie flies coach all over this great nation of ours every single day, never missing a vote in the Senate. She, however, suffered some sort of episode as Secretary of State, maybe an aneurysm or a stroke. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it would explain her tendency for waffling. She's grasping for straws, and her campaign knows it. She's losing on policy, at least without completely betraying the bankers, pharmaceutical companies, the insurance lobbyists, and the media cartels that fund her. She can't waffle into true progressive values territory, so she's got to come up with distraction politics. She's got to come up with ways to attack her opponent, who really has been the front runner for some time based on crowds and donations, but now the media has to start acknowledging he's the front runner too, because those polls where they call people like that are retired and have landlines and answer their phones when it's an unknown number, those polls, well, Bernie's starting to win those too, not just the younger vote that doesn't get polled. So everyone's starting to have to acknowledge, oh crap, it's not Hillary Clinton. The establishment's in trouble. We better fire off cheap shots. This just all shows what a joke the Clinton campaign is, and how brainless her followers are too. The only difference between Hillary and the GOP is that she's more likely to get a dangerous agenda passed into law. I gotta move on. Oh, here we go. This is a little more fun, unless you're one of his supporters. Is Ted Cruz a natural-born citizen? Is Ted Cruz a natural-born citizen? Listen, I'm not a lawyer, let alone a constitutional lawyer, but I'm a curious man who loves politics, so I have read the arguments on this from people that are lawyers and constitutional lawyers, and yeah, like anything else political, I've got an opinion. No, no. Ted Cruz is not qualified to be president. Not on constitutional standard. Here we go. John McCain qualified for being born to an active duty serviceman in an American territory at the time. The Panama Canal Zone was part of American territories at that point, and his dad was active in the service. Ted Cruz doesn't have any of that. He was born in Canada to, this is probably going to come off somehow sexist or gender based, but that's the law. The law is sexist and gender biased. But yeah, he had a Canadian male father with no military connections to the U.S. His mother had no military connection, and she just had a baby with a Canadian citizen in Canada. So that doesn't qualify him as what the Constitution calls natural born. Natural born means born in America. So like I just mentioned about John McCain, we allow exceptions for American territories, or if an active serviceman or woman and their families have babies on military bases and such, well, that's American territory wherever they are, even in the most enemy of foreign soil. You can Google this up. You can read the same stuff I have. Just look for people who are actually constitutional lawyers and students of constitutional law, at least, because it's pretty clear how this has been defined through courts throughout history. Natural law was something that was adopted from the Brits, and it's pretty well defined how it's been enforced. I think that if you do that study, you'll agree with me. Ted Cruz is not eligible to be president of the United States. Let's try another topic. Here's one I'm probably not qualified to speak on either. Oscars so white. Listen, if you're not hip, that was the hashtag in protest, I think for the second year running, about the lack of people of color nominated for the Oscars. Yeah, sure, I looked at the list. It looks pretty white. My feelings on it, I'm mostly pissed that Sarah Silverman wasn't nominated for I Smile Back. Because I have a little bit of a personal connection to some of the characters in that movie. That story really spoke to me, and I thought her performance was just amazing and so believable. It was to me the best performance of an actor, male or female. I don't understand why we still have those categories, but that's a different rant. So yeah, that's what my first instinct was where the hell is Sarah Silverman on this list? The only film I would have said that I really was rooting for to be in the best films list was The Big Short, and it did get a nod for Best Picture. Other than that, I think all of the other nominees were pretty meh. 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 Let's do it one more time. Meh. Unlike television, where not just people of color, but actors and actresses gave amazing performances with amazing stories, the big screen didn't offer good roles or good stories for people of diversity or whiteys. They weren't offered great roles either, really. Spike Lee's homage to Greek tragedy sucked. The NWA movie was okay, but it's kind of overshadowed by all of us remembering how misogynistic they were. I don't know if that Chris Rock movie was this year. That was okay. Probably more okay than anything else out there, but to be honest, the best movies that were made, the best films, the best performances, well, yeah, they're never celebrated at the Oscars anymore. And sure, maybe they didn't have diversity either. I don't know. The movies that were nominated that are so meh certainly didn't have any diversity. Good storytelling does. Good stories often have interesting and complex characters from many backgrounds. But frankly, we should just all know by now that Oscar is just another marketing tool, another marketing leg of the movie industry. It doesn't even represent the art form anymore. And film is not as good storytelling as long-form storytelling on television, in my humble opinion. What do I know? Should it be more diverse? Of course. Everything should be. We're always at our best when things are more diverse. That's America right there. I said this, I think, in the column last week. We're always at our best when the melting pot is stirred up with the most diverse. We learn from each other and share our experiences. Yeah, let's move on. Lemmy Rickman Bowie. Lemmy Rickman Bowie. I like them all. Bowie was an influence. I mean, if you ever listen to my weird music, and I play with genres, I really loved David Bowie. He was always in constant rotation. He still is at Casa de Salamone. I love David Bowie. Fuck cancer. Fuck cancer. Enough said. I know some of my progressive media cohorts have taken other positions here. I don't speak ill of the dead. Art is important to me. These are major losses, all immortal. I'll just read it again. Lemmy Rickman Bowie. Lemmy. If anybody lived the life of a rock star, that guy sure did. They're all immortal. They're not gone. What do we got? 170 economists. 170 economists. 170 of America's top economists, they endorsed Bernie Sanders' economic policy this week. You know, pretty much laying out, saying that this is the economic policy we need to save America's economy. I'm no schlep in this area. So I already knew this was true. I've analyzed Bernie's Wall Street speech and looked at the different things economists have said leading up to the Sanders campaign announced this spring. I've known that what Bernie has been saying is exactly what is needed. Just like a couple days later when economists started backing his single-payer healthcare plan, which, of course, the Clinton machine and the lobbyist puppets like Howard Dean spent the week lying about, to be honest. And of course, MSNBC, Chris Matthews, all these puppets backed up those lies. But I'll tell you the same thing that 170 economists will tell you. Despite whatever Bill O'Reilly is spewing on Fox News, Bernie's the only candidate addressing the issues with well thought out policy. Call him a socialist all you want. He's a great American, and America is behind him. His single-payer healthcare policy saves the average American family over $2,000 a year for better healthcare and everyone getting access. I mean, Obamacare is basically what Bob Dole and Mitt Romney wanted. It forces us to do business with a certain industry. So every American now is either required to do business with the insurance industry or they have to pay more in taxes. That doesn't seem American to me. Much more efficient to take out another cartel in control of our healthcare, get rid of them from the middle, make healthcare a right, and let everyone get the care they need. People now, even on Medicaid, more people qualify for Medicaid. They can't afford their co-pays, let alone if they're given a prescription. You have to remember that almost majority of Americans are living in poverty. We need a better solution, and frankly, like the rest of the world has known for quite some time, it's single payer. It's a tricky phrase, but really what that means is that we all have a right to being cared for when it comes to our health. It's just another thing that the wealth that your family accumulated up to you shouldn't dictate the health care you receive. Your opportunity to live and breathe, Do we value life in this country or don't we? That's the conversation we have to say. Because the people who stand up against this stuff always say that they're pro-life, but they're only pro-life until a baby is born. After that, it's fuck you if you're poor. I don't think those are American values. State of the Union. State of the Union, I wrote about this in my column last week. I still put it in the hat. Knowing that I would just say I think you should probably go read that to really know what I feel about the State of the Union, but I'll try and go in a direction that I didn't go into in that piece. Listen, I was glad to hear the president, except for the little elements of corporatism and that strange desire for endless war powers, I was grateful to hear Barack Obama embrace campaign finance reform and issues of economic inequality like he used to. Like he used to when he was senator and he was campaigning. And he campaigned for Bernie Sanders, who's always championed those issues. I miss that guy. It was cool to see that president again in little spurts. I don't think anybody who cares about this country demonizes Obama the way like Fox News and people do, but I don't worship him either. I think he's cool. I think he's a good guy, but he's a centrist, and if anything, he leans a little bit to the right, which is funny because that's not how he's demonized. It was nice to see him talk about the things that we once elected him for. Let's move on. Flinty water. Oh boy. The tainted water supply in Flint, Michigan, it's an example of everything going wrong in America. The government selling out to corporations, putting status quo before humanity. It's not too far removed from why Rahm Emanuel is a criminal in power in Chicago. But in Michigan, it wasn't even protecting their own power structure. It was all for corporate greed and corporate profit. It involves the water supply, which is probably the most valuable resource in the years moving forward. We're headed towards Mad Max, people. I'll bet you a year's supply of clean water. I don't know. I think this next one will be 10, maybe it's 11. I lost count, but let's pull one more. Dr. King Day. Nice. I'm glad this one came up last. If you know me and my political history, it was the women in my life educating me about women's issues and my reading of Dr. King's Where Do We Go From Here that, as a teenager, turned me into a lefty. I think I was probably a little more, left-leaning Republican or a Reagan Democrat. I was misinformed. But Dr. King's explanation of poverty and economic exploitation, it just showed me the world in a new light. I still think it's probably the most important book ever written. I highly suggest you read it if you haven't. But he lays out a vision of what humanity should look like. The fact that we've whitewashed Dr. King into some sort of light version, wanting racial integration instead of the social justice warrior who wanted a people's revolution to end poverty. It's criminal what we've done to his legacy. We need to reclaim that and remember Dr. King as the social justice warrior. Listen, I'm a cisgender Caucasian male, by definition enemy of social justice, but thanks to Dr. King, hopefully I'm an ally to the cause. Hopefully. I pray that everyone who's awake enough can help educate others to the true legacy of Dr. King this year in 2016. We're living in a world where the Pope and the true presidential frontrunner in the United States, Bernie Sanders, they speak to Dr. King's calling daily. We should be concentrating on ending poverty. And what a great Christian message that is, too. Or Jewish, or Islamic, or agnostic, hell, or atheists with a good moral core. If you believe in anything, any stem of hope you really do believe of taking care of your neighbor. That's what Dr. King says to me, that we've gone in the wrong direction every day since his death. There's people speaking to it now. We should all be behind this. Anyhow, I think that's 10 or 11 rapid fire little rants, and that should be enough for an episode. I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm Michael Salamone, as always, asking you to please, please be good to one another. Cheers. Salamone is a podcast recorded for a streaming internet audience. Archives can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all the places you can find podcasts these days, and at michaelsalamone.com.